Welcome everyone to the presentation for Merida Tech Week 2025. I'm September Smith, and today we're going to be talking about, as the title says, 95% of all AI initiatives fail. What's going on? Hint, it's not the tech. So for anyone who's interested, if you would prefer, there are subtitles at the bottom of the screen here, and you can get Spanish or English captions, and you will probably get a transcript at the end of the event if that's of interest. So what we're going to cover today, I'm going to really quickly go over what's happening in AI and why MIT and the media reported 95% AI projects and pilot failure. What really happened and what it all means for us, students, professionals, businesses, and educators. I'm going to show you some really powerful things that you could be doing that very few people know are even possible with AI. And some of these are strategic human AI collaboration, deep AI research and analysis, and context engineering, which is a big topic in 2025. And of course, at the end of the session, we're going to have a discussion. If anybody's got any questions or anything they'd like to talk about. Just a little bit about me. If you were to look at my career stack, I started out as an engineer, mechanical engineering, moved into IT and testing, learning platform development, teaching tech and engineering in universities and colleges, running a business consultancy, helping businesses get their company online. But for the last 3 years, I have been pulling all of this together with AI, in particular, starting out almost immediately with Gen AI, figuring out what kind of business processes can we be doing with this, landing at context engineering, which I've been doing for about the last 2.5 years, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit with you today. So the 95% failure rate of AI initiative. That MIT study came out in August of this year. And of course, the media is always looking for some sensational news, and this was it. Every media outlet picked it up and with almost no exception, spun it as if that's it. AI is a big bubble, it's a fraud. And that then triggered a huge run on the market. And over the next few days, the stock market lost about $1 trillion in value. It has since gained it back, but this was the impact of this kind of news. Actually, when this study was looked at in depth, they realized that this wasn't actually a very good study, extremely flawed, a very small set of businesses, far too small for this kind of study, and a very short timeline. So it didn't really make it a valid study, but it had a huge impact. Since then, cooler heads have prevailed, and we've looked at the rates. And actually, when we look at these different sources here, as you can see, MIT, Rand Corp, SAP, Gartner, they have found that across the board, there's more like a 70 to 85% rate of failure, which that's not great, but it's a whole lot better than the 95. And we are in very early days with AI. So this made us look for the real answers as to what was the percentages, but more importantly, it made people dig in to figure out what were the causes for this failure. And what they found was that it wasn't the technology. 63% of the problems within all of these pilots where it failed, where they didn't get ROI or it was just abandoned, was down to human factor, people, us. And of that various causes amongst the human factor, 38%, the largest percentage that could be attributed, was a lack of AI proficiency. That's humans not knowing how to use AI. But should we be surprised? Because you know what? It was just 3 years ago. In fact, next week it's going to be 3 years since OpenAI gave us ChatGPT. And at that time, this was brand new for us. And on the entire face of the earth, it's estimated that there were maybe 50,000 people who had any meaningful interaction or experience prompting generative AI. That's 6 in 1 million people. So even those people really didn't know what was going on or what was possible. So we had no teachers and we had no instruction. It is not surprising that now, 3 years later, we still do not have a very high level of proficiency. And it sure didn't help that the interface, unlike most software, which gives you all kinds of clues with many drop downs and menus, the ChatGPT UI, this is the 401, which many people started on, didn't give us a whole lot of clues as to how to use it either. So because it looked a lot like Google, up to today, the level of AI proficiency for most people is pretty much just like using AI as a Google upgrade. And yet, to date, Companies have provided very little meaningful training to their people. They have invested in implementing AI pilots, and somehow they just expect their workers to be able to just figure it out. What is required when using AI is like nothing we have ever seen before or we have ever done before. This is all totally brand new. This is not just a tech upgrade. The sudden introduction of AI without training is, to use a visual metaphor, it's like if we suddenly gave everyone jet planes and we were telling them to use them to get around and just assuming that they would figure it out. Doesn't work that way. Most people will figure out maybe how to turn them on, how to move forward, how to steer a bit. Some will even get it and will be flying. But with this new technology and no training, most people will be grounded and using the technology just like they've used previous technologies. So we're 3 years into this new AI age. What's actually happening? What we know as of Q2 of this year is that 78% of knowledge workers, and you can see the list there, from the CEOs right down through the management to the workers themselves, 78% of people are operating at the very most basic level, treating AI, this jet plane like technology, a little better than cars. 44%, as we can see over here, are novices. Another 34% are AI experimenters doing a little bit more than just your absolute basic. And we're not even going to talk about this 12% over here of AI skeptics who aren't even trying. So what's involved? That 44%, that AI novice, it is almost half of all AI users. They're using it for skills, as we can see here, and I'm sure you're pretty familiar. If this is not you, and I'd be happy to know that it's not, I'm sure people who use it for writing emails, maybe writing a social media post, summarizing documents, generating a bit of copy. That is a very low level and doesn't even begin to leverage what's possible. The next level up, the experimenters are doing a bit more with it, which is better than nothing, but overall, it was found that just 10 to 12% of workers are actually AI proficient. So can we actually be totally surprised that these initiatives are failing when only 10 to 12% really know what they're doing or can help themselves out of the problems they find themselves in? The top 10% made up of the AI practitioners and what is called the AI experts, which is a very slim wedge. And considering this is a moving target, you have to work really hard to be in that level of expertise. They're moving into much more complex abilities and interactions with AI like these that you see here. Each of these items represent multi-step, multi-technique human AI collaboration. And that human AI collaboration is something that we humans have never had to do before, ever. This is so brand new. Tier 3 and Tier 4, this AI practitioner and AI expert, and what's required for that is what we're going to look at today. And just in case you're wondering what the difference is between the two, it's just a matter of level of your expertise. But because everybody's domain of expertise is different, it's not to say that everybody has to master every one of these things. This is just to give you an example of what you could be doing. The thing that they are doing that is key to it all is that strategic human AI collaboration. And this is just one name for it because our understanding of this is still so new. Academics are still trying to come up with what is it that's really happening. And strategic human AI collaboration is the term that we're now using. This is a working partnership with your AI where you're guiding multi-step reasoning with them, a dialogue back and forth, maintaining intellectual control, iterating through complex problems together. Most people, quite honestly, have never experienced this type of interaction. Most people don't even know it exists. So, does this matter? Employers know that it matters. 66% of business leaders say that they wouldn't hire someone that doesn't have these AI skills, specifically this human AI interaction. In 2025, US salaries for people with these capabilities have been noticed to be anywhere from 28 to 50% higher than similar workers without these skills. This is not theoretical. This is what separates those who get hired, who advance, and who get paid more from the rest. Like I said, these are US figures, but Mexico's AI timeline is only slightly behind, and that gap is narrowing. So it's coming here as well. So, okay, let's look at the three AI elements that I thought we were going to cover today, including this strategic human AI collaboration and what you could do with these skills. We've got the strategic human AI collaboration, as I said. In addition, deep research with AI. This is something that has only really been possible since this year when all of the models dropped this whole new functionality that a lot of people are still not aware exists. They have this deep research mode with ChatGPT, it's deep research with Gemini, it's deep research modes. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is context engineering. And as I said, this is a super hot topic. And coincidentally, as I said, where I started with AI back in 2023. And that is building up a strategic collection of information and data about you, your business, your projects, or your clients. This is all context that you are then sharing with your AI so that the AI now knows as much, or in some cases more, than you do and can work incredibly effectively with you on all your projects. A better way to explain this is to walk through a process on a very high level of what you could be doing with these very powerful techniques. And because we have a mix of students and business people with us here today, and the AI skills are equally important for both of these cohorts, I want to outline an AI project that works for both groups. I'm not going to take you onto an LLM and actually do all this. I do this in my workshops where we have more time because it's sometimes the LLMs get bogged down and it takes minutes, and I don't want you to have to sit there watching me do this, but I'm going to walk you through this. So we're going to be doing some in-depth planning of an important project. And as anybody who's done any projects, be you a student, be you a business person, or any kind of professional, or even somebody who's done a project in your life, it takes many levels of planning and thinking and strategy and replanning and scheduling. So this is what we're going to look at today. How you can use your AI techniques to help you go through your projects like this on a deep, intelligent level that we would never be able to do alone. And while we're doing this, we're also going to be doing context engineering. We're going to be creating a solid body of info and context that both you and your AI need. And with it, you can build your own AI genius project assistant that knows everything about your projects and you. And I'm going to give you a brief description of that at the end. So this allows you to be able to continue working with that knowledge, with your AI, within that project for weeks or months or even years. And that is like your specialized workshop, your specialized laboratory in which you and your AI work on a given topic. Like I said, we're going to do two parallel versions. So for the student side, we're going to be launching your career. And for the business side, we're going to be looking at launching a new initiative. So let's go. The very first thing we're going to do is you can see we've got this list of things. This is theoretical, and there might be other steps that you would put in there for your own project. But just to give you an idea of what we could be doing, we could be looking at a 7-step plan. It could be many more steps. And starting with the first one, laying down that basis, clarifying your career goals. If you're on the business side, clarifying the initiative, the vision, and the goals. Once you have all of these steps completed, or as far as you need to go, and you have all of those layers of context now that you can be using for this project now and into the future to be revisited, to be refined, now you're ready to build your own AI assistant. And this, what we built up this context is key for that. You can be making GPTs or projects in ChatGPT. You can be making projects in Claude, gems in Gemini. And what you do is you supply all of this context to it with instructions so that these AI assistants know exactly what it is that you're going to need their help with. So if 95% of AI initiatives fail, or even if it's just 75 to 85, imagine if the CEOs, the managers, the workers, all of these people, right down to students, had the skills that they needed that they could apply to whatever problem they faced. That lack is what we're missing right now in the business world, the workplace, and the top 10 to 12% of people that have these things have a huge advantage. Why is this not happening? First of all, it's down to training, and that's a very unsexy thing. I think anybody who's been in the AI world for any amount of time realizes that if there's a problem, the impulse is to throw technology at it. Let's find a new workflow. Let's find an automation. Let's find an AI agent to fix this. If ultimately it's not the hardware, it's not the software, it's the humanware, we do have to train. We have to educate. And that is not happening because, first of all, this thing that I've been talking about today, this human AI interaction, this collaboration that you need to learn how to do with your AI. Educators need to know it exists before they can even imagine including it in their curriculums. Also, this has been found by some of the biggest universities, such as MIT, Harvard, Stanford, University of London, all over the world. Neurologists, psychologists, and all kinds of other scientists are studying this, and they're realizing that this is a whole new way of thinking. We've never, almost never, had to use our brains like this in the past. So, how hard would that be to try to figure out how to teach somebody how to do that? First, you have to be able to do it, but then you have to think, okay, how do I explain this? And the next thing is related to that, because it's a new way of thinking, a new cognition, this requires something different than just traditional classroom learning. This requires experiential learning, which traditional education just does not do. It just doesn't slot into the idea of this is teaching. In addition, with that experiential learning, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of practice. One of the luminaries of the AI world, Ethan Mollick, estimated that it takes about 100 hours of working with AI to even start get a feel for this. Like I said, the absolute best way to learn this is experiential learning, where you are dropped into the middle of scenarios with AI and you're guided through the interactions that have been set up for you. And you're guided through the collaborations that you're going to be having with the AI. I'll be doing just such a workshop. So if you want to experience it using the examples that I've showed you today, please join us. So we went over what's happening with AI and why MIT and the media reported 95% of AI projects and pilots failing. We talked about what's really happening, what's really missing, and what all of that means for us, students, professionals, business people, educators. And also, we talked about some of the powerful things that you can be doing with AI that just a small percentage of people are actually doing, such as the strategic human AI collaboration, deep AI research and analysis, and context engineering. I want to thank you so much for your patience, so much for being with us for this very brief presentation on this what I feel is a very important topic. And now, for my favorite part, let's talk.